Hey Ryan, you're on mute, Ryan.
On mute. Yeah, of course I'm still on mute. That's what happens to everyone. Okay. Oh, no, I'm not muted. Hey, welcome. Good morning. Welcome to Google in the Ensemble Classroom. My name is Ryan Benoit, and I am the band director at Denham Springs Junior High School. If you don't know where Denham Springs is, we're just east of Baton Rouge. And hopefully today you're either here for two reasons. You want to learn a little bit of stuff about what Google can do to help you in your classroom, or to see a train wreck. And I hope not to disappoint any of you. So let's get started, right? So if I learned how to use the technology properly, we should be ready to go. Here we go. So as I said, I'm Ryan. If you have any questions at any time or whatever, the chat is a perfect place to ask those. And I'll get those, I'll answer your questions as soon as possible. So a little bit of backstory. Near the end of last school year, the way that school year ended, it was very awkward. All of a sudden we were in school and then we weren't, right? And me and a few band directors were getting together trying to figure out what school's going to look like down the road. And then somebody had the bright idea of me to try to put this together for LMEA clinic, sort of like we're doing today. Since then, things have changed a little bit, but the original clinic description was practical uses for the Google family of apps to streamline workflow, differentiate learning, increase words. Whew. All right, we're done with that. And in case you were playing, right off the back, you got buzzword bingo. You can collect your prize on the way out the door. I certainly was going to go through the Google family of apps, your Google Docs, your Google Slides, and all those other things. And we're going to do a little bit of that at the beginning of the clinic. But my guess is that a bunch of us have had training on this at our schools, some sort of professional development or other stuff. So we're going to turn this into something a little more band director focused, maybe slightly different than our normal professional development. And I added a few stuff near the end that I've learned since the original submission for this clinic to share with you. So here goes. So why should you use Google in your classroom? We're teachers. So the first thing, of course, is that it's free. It's ubiquitous. And for the percussionists, that means it's everywhere. You can use it on your phones, your tablets, computers. It's web-based. You don't need to install anything extra on your computers. It's really easy to use. I remember back in the day when you had to like save, like we used to write papers in college or whatever, right? And save every paragraph. Well, things save automatically now. It's really easy to collaborate. It's easy to share back and forth. And as I mentioned before, it's browser-based. So there's really nothing to install on your computer. So that's maybe why you should use Google. Now, we're not going to cover in detail a few of these. One is Google Docs, it's word processing. If you're familiar with Microsoft Word, you can definitely get around some word processing stuff. We're not going to cover Google Sheets, right? That's spreadsheets, Google Excel. Be quite honest, I don't know how to set up a bunch of those formulas and stuff to help you squeeze out of those things. There is a Google apps on the Google suite called Google Drawings, and between me and you, who knows what that is anyway, right? So those are the ones that we are not covered today. But I do want to show you one quick thing on Google Docs that I think is beneficial. And it's a way to collaborate. Let me switch to a Google Doc here. So as I said, during the summer, some band directors in Livingston Parish, which is where Denham Springs Junior High is located, we were trying to figure this thing out. Like, what is school going to look like? And instead of trading emails back and forth and trying to keep up with all of that, we shared a Google Doc with just a general outline and some thoughts. We were using the chat, the comment section of this to comment on each other's work and just sharing a lot of stuff with each other through here. Tons of links on how to do stuff, things that we were working on, some plans, and just going back and forth. So the collaboration feature on Google Docs sometimes can replace what you do in an email. Trying to keep up with these email chains and what's going on, that's a really a beneficial thing for us. So, and that's all I'm really going to cover with Google Docs for us today. So, for me, the one Google Suite app that I've been using for years, even before Google Docs, was Google Forms. I'm a little bit lazy. I prefer the term efficient. I like to be efficient with things, and Google Forms is a great way to gather data places and then work with it. But I think you can use it to simplify your workflow. And then, of course, as teachers, we can use that to differentiate learning, give different students different assignments, and to assess the kids. And just really quickly, here's a list of all the different Google Forms and different ways that I use it in my class, right? Um, a few of those that I wanted to highlight, they're coming up really quickly. I do give my kids a syllabus quiz at the beginning of the year using Google Forms. I've actually started, this was the first year I did it. I tried to require, and I'm going to use scare quotes, because I gave the quiz to the parents. I had parents complete the syllabus quiz as well. That way people know, um, that, I don't know, it's just one more level where they can't say I didn't know or I didn't tell you. You'll see right here in the middle of this individual performance rubric, I have kids in class play for the class every other week, like a little recital. And I use this rubric through Google Forms to give them some feedback. And then you can print the individual feedback for each student to give them back to them. Couple checks boxes, fill in some stuff really quickly. At the same time I'm doing that, the kids that are watching the other kids have a slightly simpler version to provide feedback to their peers. And it just gets them thinking and analyzing music differently than just sitting and waiting for their turn. If any of those things caught your eye, you're like, hey, what was that thing that was up there? Type it up in chat. I'll give you my contact information later on and I'll share those with you. Um, and that's just a good way to use Google Forms. I also use Google Forms, by the way, to fill in uh, a Google Sheets, right, or your Excel sort of forms. I struggle with clicking the right boxes a bunch of times. So if you make a form and it'll populate everything for you, and it's good to go. So Google Forms, in case you don't know much about Google Forms, these are the question types that's available through your Google Forms, from short answer to paragraph. The difference between multiple choice and check boxes: multiple choice, you choose one. Check boxes, you can choose multiple things, sort of in a thing. The whole drop down we see a lot when you fill out forms for like state or country of origin or stuff like that. File upload up there is one that I don't think not that many people know about. On my band website, I have a Google form set up. And y'all, I'm so sorry, I'm talking super fast. I'm trying to slow down. But I'm Cajun, leave me alone. So this file upload is a way for, I have a Google form for parents or even students to send me pictures or videos, especially after a concert. I don't know about y'all, but like kids for some reason like to take pictures with me after the concert. It's because I'm very handsome. I'm used to it by now. But so they take these pictures and then they upload them, and I can either keep them, share them with our social media team at school, add them to our website, and it's a checkbox disclaimer that you're giving me permission to do that with pictures on there as well. Um, and then the last two, date and time, is just super duper easy. So when you're finished with your Google Forms, you get responses back in a bunch of different ways, right? One of those is you just get like a list of everybody's short answer questions, right? If it's a quiz, Google Forms will tell you which ones were frequently missed. Did I not teach this well enough? Did the kids not learn it well enough? Was the question confusing? As a teacher, that frequently missed questions for me is a way to reflect upon sort of what was going on, or how I did as a teacher sometimes, right? Other ways they do another sort of list down things of the, and by the way, all of these are taken from stuff that we use at our school with Google Forms. You get some charts with some of the answers, and some of the charts make sense. Like, which type of social media do you prefer? Seems like most of our parents use Facebook at our school. But then some of the charts, and these are populated automatically through Google, won't help you a whole lot. I don't need to know that 10.1% of my kids wear an adult extra large, right? I need to know like an exact number. So sometimes the automatically populated stuff works well. Sometimes it doesn't, but hey, it does it for you. And when they type in paragraphs, you get the whole paragraph for you that route. So yeah, here's some stuff about the syllabus quiz that I gave you earlier. I totally ask kids, what do you do when your instrument no longer works properly, right? What do you do first when you forget something in class? What's the sort of protocol? What do you have to do? And I'm so glad none of my kids answered, don't worry about it. Yeah, so start incorporating some Google Forms into your sort of regular workflow at your school. I'm using Google Slides right now uh, to, to to help me organize my presentation. But I want you to know that Google Slides are not just for slideshows. You could do a whole lot of stuff with Google Slides. And my big mug is there's a joke down there. Weird, isn't the slideshow made with Google Slides? But I'm blocking myself there. So, what can you use Google Slides for? I mean, duh, slideshows, right? You can use it for a graphic arts sort of program. It's really simple. I will tell you, I have three boys. My youngest boy, the middle child, who's 9, he constantly makes stuff on Google Slides. I think his teacher showed him some stuff in class. And the other day, he presented us the story of Lilo and Stitch, like on the TV. Yes, that was a very not so subtle dad brag in there. So you can use it for graphic arts and stuff. I use it in my class for badge trackers, and I'll show you a little bit of that. Some interactive worksheets where you fill stuff in and out and those type of things. So these are things that since the pandemic, to be honest with you, and a little bit before that we've used in my class with Google Slides. Instead of keeping a paper practice log, we now use a digital one. I don't know how you feel about practice logs or not. This is not necessarily the clinic to sort of discuss that. Yes, when you do the digital one, parents can't sign it necessarily. But let's be honest, half the parents are signing it and their kids didn't practice anyway. This slide down here that says with the trumpet, you click and drag the parts to the trumpet where it goes, and every kid gets their own. Uh, with my beginning band students, we start to do tetra scales, 4-note scales. Green means you got it. Yellow means you were close. White just means we didn't try it yet. Different worksheets and posters for our concert coming up. And I taught a unit on like elements of music, and this is how I try to describe sound wave and consonance versus dissonance, and intonation and the like, using circles and like the ratios between different intervals. Um, which, by the way, my kids really started to get it when I did that. So, yes, I guess not so humble brag for myself as well. So, here is an example, by the way, of an actual assignment that we used in class. And I think no matter, let me back up just a tiny bit. In my situation at my school, I have a computer for every kid at school. We are currently full face-to-face instruction, except for when kids actually get quarantined and the like. But we're back to face-to-face. I have very few truly virtual students. But we used this at the beginning of the year, even when we were on a hybrid schedule, when I didn't see my kids every single day, as a little bit of an icebreaker, a way for me to get to know the kids and the kids to get to know me a little bit. Because I'm sure you hear it a whole bunch. You know, our business, surely it's music, but it's relationships more than anything else, right? So a way to make those relationships was to create a wall of me. Now, I did the whole video assignment thing using Screencastify. I'm not going to bore you and play that with you. I always give written instructions as well, so that you can go back and review sort of the written part of that and highlight it. But that was the actual assignment. And essentially, I gave the kids a blank canvas of a wall, and they had to put some pictures of themselves on there. And I did it as well. This is the one of me. And then in class, kids had to give a little presentation on themselves, like what was going on there. So, and to infer things beforehand, like what is it about Mr. Benoit that caught your eye, or something that you and Mr. Benoit have in common, and we talked about those things. And I like to watch them try to do the math when they see that I'm in the 38th grade, right? So that's really interesting that way. Another Google slide assignment that we did in class was to create what did I even call this thing? Song structures, right? We talked about song structure in pop music as a way to get my students to start to think about structure even in our art music, classical music, band music. I don't know what we're really supposed to call it. But you meet them where they are first and have them think about what they have the most experience in. So like verse, pre-chorus, chorus, And they chose a song, and I gave them an example. I use Adele's Rolling in the Deep, and we'd play it and follow through. And then here's an example of students' work, that Watermelon Sugar song, which I didn't hear until they did this. I'm like totally out of that. But notice some of the neat stuff about this. Every time there's a verse, the kid put it in a different color, which was not part of the assignment necessarily. Like the pre-choruses are in black, like the colors meant something on here. They chose their own background and stuff and got to be a little bit creative. And the next step in this, which the next time we have a little bit of time in class, we're going to start talking about structure of the music we're playing. And I started dropping hints with the last couple of bits of music that we were playing, what a recapitulation sort of means and those kind of things. And I'm going to have the students map out some of the music that we play using the same thing here. And like I teach junior high, we're not going to get into this like sonata form and all this sort of stuff, but my hope is they start realizing that music is not accidental. Like composers did all this on purpose. And even the music that you like on purpose. There's a reason why this chorus kept repeating and stuff like that. So yeah, that's enough of me, I guess, bragging about some of my student work. But that's totally what I'm here for. So that's Google Slides, maybe some other ideas, if you will. I use planting seeds a lot. Like I plant seeds. And so maybe for you now, I've planted a seed and some things that you can do in your class. And hey, you can totally steal my stuff. It's not stealing anymore because I give you permission. Another thing that Google has is Google Sites. They're easy to build websites. There's templates. They embed really easily into other Google products, and they look really good on multiple devices. My school for the longest time used OnCourse, and good God, those websites were bloody awful. You can try to pay to use like Squarespace and other places to create a website. This is Google, so guess what? It's free. And we could put free with an asterisk. I understand nothing is free. If you use anything on the internet or on your phones and it's free, you are the product. Like I understand that, but it's free and it sort of works. So if you have a phone handy, and I know you do, I'm going to move myself out the way here. So if you have a phone handy, let's see how I do this. I did some training. If I move myself to the top left-hand corner, there you go. And I know you do because you've been texting all your friends about me behind your back because that's what everybody does in including meetings. Take out your phones, open up the camera app, and scan this QR code, and it'll take you to a website that I set up for this conference, right? All the free goodies that I would have given you at the conference, that's a lie. I wouldn't have gave you anything. I'm a teacher, nothing's free, and I'm not sponsored by anybody. So I'll give you about another few seconds to sort of scan that there. But the website takes you to this one, right? And I created this using Google Classroom, using Google Sites. Lots of click and drag, really easy to go there. And from this website, I need you to do me a few favors. Actually, I'm going to refresh this. There you go, because I made some changes right before. So at the end of the clinic, provide me with some feedback. You're going to get a copy of the presentation, all the materials here. At the very top, there's a materials tab. This is not a how-to, like how to make Google Slides or how to make this work that way. But in case you needed any of that, I did create some videos for you and some how-tos. If you click that link up there, like how to create an interactive worksheet from an existing, like all that you can read. I'm not going to dumb it down for you, but how to, and that's just not the purpose necessarily of this clinic. But I created most of these videos for faculty members on my campus, so it was really easy to share with you as well. And some resources, everything I've used to create any of these things or other stuff. There's a bunch of resource apps here, a bunch of sites that I use to create this clinic, if you will, and stuff there. So now you have that website, and that's all the free stuff, if you will, because we all like free stuff. I clicked the wrong thing. It wouldn't be a virtual thing if you didn't do something wrong. All of these Google apps revolve around Google Drive, and Google Drive is a cloud storage. And it all gets saved to your Google Drive automatically. You can create folders to share and go back and forth with those type of things. There is a free, Google Drive is free. Uh, I'm sorry. Somebody in the chat said it brought you to the DSJH band website. Um, that's an oopsie. You can certainly check out the DSJH band website, and I'll give you a link to the website that I created for the clinic at the end. I have it showing up again. So sorry about that, Mike. But now you get to see my band website and how average it is. So back to our conversation about Google Drive. All of the stuff is free, and Google Drive is free, and you get 15 gigabytes of storage free. You can pay for more once you start to run out. If your school district provides you with the G Suite sort of stuff, I think you actually get unlimited storage. If you use like your school account for things, it gets a little bit confusing. But everything gets saved automatically in your Google Drive. So I think it works out really well that way. There we go. A few sort of criticisms about the Google suite of apps. I don't think quite as robust as the Microsoft ones. I think Word does a whole lot more stuff than Google Docs does. For me, that's a positive, because when things have too many things you can do, I think it gets overwhelming. So if there's stuff that like Google Slides doesn't do, for instance, there's add-ons and extensions that you can add to these things. There are programs that extend the functionality of those. There's a list of my favorite ones on the website to the presentation there, and you can find more at the Google Workspace Marketplace. And some of those are paid, some of those are free, and they're good to go. Jean or Jean, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, in chat asked, do things in Google Drive get deleted after a certain amount of time? Google changed their like terms of use recently. Starting in October, what Google started to do is when you deleted something, after a certain amount of time, it like disappeared. For the longest time, even when you deleted something, there was a way to sort of go back and get it. To the best of my knowledge, unless you actually delete something, Google's going to save it for you for however long it needs to be. I know I've been using Google Drive for, geez, I don't know, a really long time now, and nothing's magically deleted. So, Gene, I hope I've answered your question. I don't work for Google, just as a disclaimer. So if I didn't quite answer your question enough, a quick Google search might sort of get there, but I don't believe so. So now for the new stuff, the stuff that I sort of thought about how I was going to approach this clinic and make it work something other than a rehash of the professional development, I'm so sorry, new tongue. The professional development that we probably receive from our school districts or our schools. And so let me try to minimize myself just a little bit, because I think you'd want to see more of what I'm telling you here. There we go. So Chrome has something called the Music Lab. And I think, I don't know this on kind of certainty, but it's a bunch of side projects from Chrome engineers about music. And you can use it in your class to explore music and its connections to science and math and art. There's even some live instruments on there. And so there's a collection of, and some uses that we found, there's a collection that they found, and there's a Twitter, if you use Twitter, that you can check out people sharing how they use it, which is where I got some of these ideas from, and then just expanded from there. And I put a little asterisk next to Weave, because quite honestly, I cut and pasted that from the Google website, and the we there does not include me, right? And like everything else with the Google stuff, it works on phones, tablets, laptops, and it's in Chrome. It's browser based in Google Chrome. So let's get going with some pretty interesting stuff, I hope. So I taught a big unit before we were able to play our instruments regularly on elements of music, and I used the Rhythm Lab part of the Chrome Music Labs to discuss meter with the kids. So I'm actually going to take you to it So this is what the Rhythm Lab looks like. And it's some cute little monkeys, not as cute as Baby Yoda, but cute enough. And let's see if you can hear this. It just creates a rhythmic loop to illustrate meter. And the monkeys are illustrating 3 meter. Now the other monkey over there is playing triangle. So if we add some little triangle notes in there, how does that change the feel of the meter? And it's pretty interesting when kids start to play around with it. And we illustrate things that almost no matter what we do there, this will still have a 3 feel to it to illustrate meter. Using the arrows on the side, this is an illustration of 4 now, right? Different little aliens, and I like how they blink every now and then. Right, here's our 4. A floor tom with a snare drum. Let's add a backbeat. So we have our boom, we have our pop. Let's add some sizzle. And there we have meter of 4, right? Boom, pop, sizzle. You can steal that too, because I didn't invent it. Uh, these uh, these little creatures here actually go, what is this, 5, right? 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the last one is 6, which is always fun because then you can break it down into 2 groups of 3, 3 groups of 2 groups of 3, 3 groups of 2. But that's one of the ones that I've used a good bit in my class to show meter, right? Lots of fun. The kids played around with it. So that's a good one. Oops, I didn't want to go that far yet. So here's one I think that we can use in our classes to teach 2 things that I find are really confusing and abstract to teach to our students. One is, how do you teach timbre? Like, what is that, right? You ask 12 different people, and most musicians are going to say, oh, it's color. But color is something you see to most of our students, not something you hear. What is, like, I don't know, maybe you have a better description of it than I do. And teaching intonation, I think, is one of the things that, like, everybody sort of, I don't know, everybody wants to know how I can get better at teaching intonation. I think one of the issues we have in our classes, instrumental music classes and teaching intonation, is that students, if we break stuff into 2 different areas, students have to know things and then they have to do things, right? And so a lot of times, though, we try to teach both of those things at the same time and it gets confusing. Or a kid knows what intonation is, but they're still struggling with the doing, manipulating their instrument, right? Getting fingers down, embouchure, how much reason amount, like, just like all these different things going through their head that they keep trying to adjust to fix intonation. So using this, the oscillators, we can divorce the knowing from the doing. They can show us they know stuff without necessarily having to do it on their instrument yet. I'm in no way, shape, or form trying to diminish intonation, the importance of intonation while playing your instruments. But here's what the oscillators are. They're little characters that create different type of sound waves. Now here's our square wave guy, right? And when you click on a screen, he will just sing. And in his mouth actually shows you the shape of the wave. And down here we have our frequency value. And so as I bring my mouse up higher, the pitch will go higher, and you can see the sound waves move faster. I can go down lower. And if I use the arrow, I switch oscillators now to sawtooth. Hey, by the way, that's timbre, right? Square wave versus sawtooth wave. Now we're showing them the difference between timbre. And if you're really good and you play the same pitch value down here, the frequency value, it's the same exact note played on different instruments. That's timbre-ish. We're sort of getting there. So how do you use this to teach intonation in your class? Well, I have a pitch, and I ask the kids to match my pitch using the oscillators. They drag their fingers up and down until they get there. And we do this one-on-one for a little while. We do it with the entire class until, like, they're exactly what you want to happen in your band class. Their sound disappears and everyone else's sort of sound. When stuff sounds close but not quite right, right? They can see this number down here, right? Oh, I'm only, I'm instead of 440, let's use the number. What does it sound like when they're at 445, right? Not quite another pitch, but this is what out of tune sort of sounds like, right? Poor intonation sounds like. And we're doing it sort of divorced from the instrument so that they're not so worried now about, again, airstream, like fingerings, all this other stuff. It's something that they've been doing for a long time, clicking a computer screen and now just dragging it up and down. And then especially now when a bunch of us can't play the instruments in our classroom, how do we get them to do these, to understand and learn all of the different musical ideas so that maybe when we can finally get instruments in the hands, we might be able to progress a little bit faster through some of these things. I thought this was a fantastic way to sort of show that, right? I didn't get so far in my classes yet where we're trying to do like harmony, other than what the octave is. When you double that number, right, you get the octave, or when you cut the number in half, you get the next octave lower. We sort of did those things. So here's the triangle wave in case you wanted to hear it on there, the sine wave, which everybody sort of has. And again, I just thought this was a good way, free Google Chrome Lab, to illustrate musical principles divorced from playing the instrument. And I know a lot of us are still not where we can play our instruments regularly, or you have kids that are, if you're doing virtual, we could totally do this virtually, right? You just heard the note I just played. The kid opens up another window and matches on their note, and it works out just fine. So again, we can use these oscillator characters to teach timbre and intonation using this one. And I wanted to share with you another sort of not so humble brag of how I described timbre to my kids. This is pulled straight from a slide that I used to organize the lesson whenever we talked about timbre. One, the kids have to know how to pronounce it. Of course, they're going to want to say timbre or timbre, timbre. And so I'll put that up there. And then I asked them which circle is green, and you get some very weird looks because every circle is green, right? So it's kind of like timbre there, right? So colors also have timbre. They're all green, yet they're all different colors. You can also use like apples as another one. Granny Smith doesn't taste like Red Delicious, but nobody will confuse them for oranges, that they're apples. But it was a good way to get them to think a little bit about timbre, and a new way to sort of throw it and approach it out there and totally steal my stuff too. That's plenty fine. So now on to everybody's favorite Google Chrome Music Lab thingamabob, Google Songmaker. If you do not know what Google Songmaker is, I don't oversell it, but you're in for a little bit of a treat. It's my kid's favorite thing I think we did all year. It's the thing we did even last year, and the kids always constantly asking me about more songs. I've got about 3 or 4 kids that I get at least a song a week from them through the email. But Google Songmaker, and this is sort of what it looks like. So what is it, right? Your kids are going to ask you to play that Songmaker game, and it's not a game, but it's certainly fun. But what does it do, right? You can teach your kids composition, pitch, melody, intervals, harmony, tonality, the rhythmic subdivision, meters, so much more. I think Google Songmaker almost does everything we want to teach our kids, or at least a lot of it, maybe not everything. So this is what I'm going to do for you. Included in the materials for this clinic and on that website that, again, Mike, I'm going to totally share with you, make sure everybody gets it, is a lesson plan using Google Songmaker and how to do that in your class. So this is what we're going to do. You ready? We're going to take Google Songmaker and we're going to add that together with boom whackers. If you don't have boom whackers, that's okay, y'all. I'm going to show you some ways around that as well. And that totally creates some quality content. So this is what I did, right? So what you need for here is web-enabled devices. So if your kids all have a device, if you're doing virtual or some sort of hybrid system, they can totally do this at home. I'll put the star next to boom whackers because I'm going to show you how you can overcome boom whackers. And even staff paper or manuscript paper, depends on how fancy you want to call it. It's going to be optional there, right? So this is what you need to do. As a teacher, you've got to get familiar with Songmaker. I'll put the default settings on there for you. That 4 bars is the length. You can totally read them. I can consult you that way. But that's just a quick reference for the default settings and sort of maybe what you want your kids to do. Some things to consider, because you're going to ask kids to compose a song. And even for the great composers of the world, right? A blank page is pretty intimidating. So I think we should give students a little bit of guidance, some limitations, some considerations here. The teacher can provide the start of the melody, the first two or three notes, the first phrase, whatever you want to do. Provide starting or ending pitches. Give them a limit. You can only use these notes. I didn't allow my students to use any interval. You can either use the next note higher or lower, or you can skip one, and then we defined it as a third later on. You can provide the rhythms. In my class, we use rhythm grids, and I used some dice, and kids had to compose something using like only this rhythm from the rhythm grid. If you're going to do harmony, triads that are in root position are super easy for kids to see and sort of understand. And if you use pop progressions, right, pop music progressions, even 12-bar blues, it's familiar to students' ear, right? We want to meet them where they are to show them some other concepts that's going to transfer to the music we're trying to teach them in our classes, right? You can create some templates to just have fun. So here's the plan, right? The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have students just experiment. No rules, no nothing. I want them just to get on Songmaker and get after it. So let me show you Songmaker really quickly. So it's a grid, and when we put colors and blocks on the grid, it makes notes. And when I give kids the freedom to just explore, see what all the buttons do, click all the settings, about 10 or 15 minutes is all they kind of need to figure out how some of this works, right? Sidebar, don't assume that all your kids are digital natives. I know old people like me think all of these kids grew up on computers and phones. I think sometimes we'd be surprised at how many kids don't. So just have them explore. I don't know, have them draw a smiley face even to see what that sounds like. Change all the settings. And like that's the first thing that we do is just have kids click around with stuff, right? So let's go back to our, that's what I want. So that's what I mean by experimentation. They're just going to go in and do stuff. Now at my school, we do use Google Classroom. So you can actually have them save their composition, turn it in. And I have them even send me the make a mess sort of thing, right? It's going to sound terrible. It won't sound like a song, but they're going to send it to me. And then I think, so they're going to do that and send it to me. The next part I think is for them to arrange a song, something they already know. A folk song, a song from the beginning band method. I don't care if they're in 8th grade. They can do Shoe Fly again and write it on Google on the song maker. If there's any high school people in here, again, a beginning band method. They're going to say, oh, remember when this used to be hard? Those kind of stuff. And have them try to arrange something that's on the thing. The third day, 5 minutes. Okay, I got to hurry this up. The third thing is to actually compose and do those things. And then they're going to perform it. And they can perform it using boom whackers. Those colors mean something. These are the colors of the boom whackers for each individual note. Right, so if you have boom whackers, that works out great. If you have an old xylophone, take it apart, use just the bars, use non-pitch things. All that works out fine. If you do use the lesson, just shoot me an email and let me know how it worked. I'm not trying to hurry through this, but I'm going to show you some other stuff in a minute. This is the last thing I had anyways. On Teachers Pay Teachers, there's a content creator called That Music Teacher who has some Chrome Music Lab task cards that can take you through all the Music Lab stuff that's good to go. So here's a composition, there it is, that one of my kids made using Songmaker. So here's a listen. Why am I doing that? There we go. Here's a listen. And then it just loops back every single time, right? Now I'm going to change something just so I can hit the save button and show you how that works. And then I'll delete it. So down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you click the save button. There's a link for them to send you. This kid sent me the link, and I totally told them I was going to show everybody in my clinic to all the music teachers. So somebody said they can't hear the sound. Is that a you thing or a me thing? Let me check something just really quickly. Huh. What about now? That's weird. I'm so sorry. This is all gonna be on the stuff that I gave you. I actually thought I had the sound from Google Chrome on there. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh well, I don't have time to figure that out. We only have about 2 or 3 minutes left. All right, so this is what you're going to get from me is the actual sort of lesson plan. All the stuff in blue are links for you to click on and things to work on that route. Something I have not played with in the Chrome Music Lab. This is their main page. There's something called Shared Piano. I'm wondering if I can possibly have my kids play their songmaker things on this shared piano. Other things about string theory, chords, and other stuff. So just play around with the Chrome Music Lab stuff there. There we go. If you have your phone, take out your phone and scan this QR code to provide me with some feedback. And I apologize that you couldn't hear the song. It's really cool, but check it out in a minute. And I know I sent to Con Selmer materials for this, but if you scan that thing there, it should take you to the materials page. Yeah, totally. So if you scan this one, it'll take you to the website for this. Yeah, I couldn't hear it. Maybe I have a minute and I can hurry up and try to fix this. Let me see, loop back. Open that up while you're sort of scanning that. If I add another device, there we go. Another source. Isn't it awesome whenever you hear somebody talk through their technical issues? And y'all, like, I tested all this before. I wonder if I take this and I send it to this one. Because I want you to hear it, because this kid, like, totally rocked it. There we go. If I send that to this one and then hit play, let's see what happens. Can you hear me now? Let me know in the chat if you can hear that. It's kind of catchy. You're going to be singing it. Still no sound. Well, that's a bummer. I even use like loop back. Oh, well. No biggie, no biggie. Yeah, so check it out. Let me know what you think. Send me an email about my kids' stuff. Oh my gosh. So that ends what I sort of wanted to cover. I know it was a lot all at once, and I speak really fast because I'm from Thibodeau originally, and that's just kind of what we do. I can't thank you enough for coming to this. This was like really daunting. I'm just a slightly average band director from Denham Springs. So leave me some feedback in the feedback form. My email address is at the bottom of the website, way down there on all the other stuff that I gave you. Feel free to email me, or if you want to send me a text, even I'll put I'm brave because I don't answer my phone when anybody calls. I even gave you my phone number down there. You can sort of text me or send me an email that route, or call me and let me know what you thought of this. If I can be of any more assistance to you in any way, shape, or form, please reach out to me. I would love to help out. And thanks for coming, guys. So what a bummer you couldn't hear it. What did I do wrong? Yeah, so there's two handouts in the handout section if you didn't go there, which are two PDFs with some stuff to click that takes you to the what's it called that teachers use to plan and teach their lessons? Lesson plans. Yeah, totally. A real teacher would have knew what that was. A copy of the lesson plan for the Google Chrome, the Music Lab thing, and some links to the website on there. So bravo. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Bye, Rebecca. Thanks for coming, Abby. I appreciate it.